Yesterday I woke up and it was just one of those days that I knew that I needed to pull like all my cards, right? Sometimes if you read for yourself regularly, you realize that it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna pull cards. Some people pull cards every day and that's fantastic. I'm not really one of them. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's that, or I'll pull at the crescent moon, or I'll pull at, the first quarter, which is kind of like my big manifesting moon phase. But yesterday I just woke up and I was like, you know what? There's a lot happening in the universe and I want to prepare, especially for the full moon in Capricorn coming this weekend. And, I pulled cards with my partner. Sam and I have our own deck that we pull. So it was like over breakfast, we did that. And then I pulled my own 10 card layout, which was pretty insane. And then pulled Oracle deck later on that day. But the one thing that was the loudest message in my own personal tarot card pull was this one card that said, sacred is the energy that travels up the stamen to get to the bloom. I'm going to say that one more time. Sacred is the energy that travels up the stamen to get to the bloom. When you think about it, when we see flowers, all we ever see is the top of it, the bloom, the blossom, right? We never think about the base that supports, the base that withstands wind, rain, people cutting, holds life for the flower as it is wilting and dying. And whenever, if you think about it, like I get flowers all the time for myself. And whenever you think about it, it's like whenever the bloom fades or wilts, you throw it away. But when you look at it, the stem of it is still there. It's still strong and it's not dead, right? And so if you think about sacred is the energy that travels up that stem or stamen to get to the bloom. It's all about discipline and dedication. And that is the archetype of Capricorn. Capricorn is that like mountain goat, the sturdy kind of like traveler up the hill, up the mountain, steadfast. But the archetype of it is all about dedication and discipline. And sometimes, it's so funny because my brother was a Capricorn. He was actually a triple Cap and he couldn't have been like less because Sean, even though he had like focus, he didn't have a lot of discipline. He was a musician, so he was like a pure creative poet, like that kind of thing. But we joked about it because my dad is a Sagittarius and he is just like all about details, all about discipline. And I was like, how is it that you guys got flopped, Sean was the creative, more like Piscean kind of energy, but he was a Capricorn. My dad was a Sag. They should have been switched. Anyway, that's like so inside baseball. Sticking to the game, there's a full moon in Capricorn this weekend. And in relation to the archetype of what that means, I want to explore the theme, and this is like a main theme that is happening right now for this full moon, okay? I want you to think about the last time that the moon was in Capricorn at this degree was in 2008. And so this full moon is a practical culmination of whatever you had started in 2008. So I want to ask all of you, and I'm going to do a tarot pull on it because it seems fitting for Capricorn. I was going to do rune, but like I'd rather do tarot. I should have brought my Chimera deck for that, but another time. My Chimera deck was the one that had that sacred is the energy message, and it was just so fucking beautiful. But I want to just like have everyone take a moment, think about what you were doing in 2008, and I'm just gonna tell you a little ditty of mine. But first, matcha. In 2008, I had a dream and I dreamt that I had this tattoo. I don't know if you can see it. This tattoo right here, triple moon. I had a dream that someone had tattooed it on this hand, on this finger. And in the dream, they explained this is where all of your power generates. And so this is your symbol. And I remember going to my tattoo artist at the time, and she was just like this amazing witchy priestess, fire dancer lady. And, we'd done a couple pieces together already. And she was like, I asked her, I was like, hey, so what does this symbol mean? Like, I didn't look it up. I literally just texted you when I woke up and you're like, oh yeah, I've got an availability in like an hour. And here I am. I'm like, I don't know what it is that I'm getting on my thumb right now. And she's like, what? And she's like, first of all, like, you research every tattoo like within an inch of your life whenever you come get one from me. But she's like, this is the triple moon goddess. And she goes, it's sacred. It means that you are going into a different chapter of your life around dismantling the belief system that you were raised with. And I was like, holy shit. And then I became a witch. Seriously though, I did. I've already been doing it to a certain amount, but during that time I really knuckled down and I got books and got to know Cunningham and Buckland and you know, modern magic. And it's like, I'm like looking at my library behind, but it's like, I really got into the research aspect of it, read thousands of books and then pulled everything apart and then basically cultivated my spirituality around that. And that was the beginning of my journey in 2008. Now, I don't really know unless like, you know, what is cultivating for me at this full moon other than me applying my understanding of witchcraft and spirituality. But I really do take seriously the fact that I teach other people about how to reconnect with their divine feminine. And so I would like to think that in 2008, thus began the journey of me dismantling the patriarchal system that was constructed within me and then delving into the more intuitive feminine that I am now. Fire truck incoming. But that said, I wanted to do a reading today around the full moon in Capricorn. You know, I would definitely throw out a journal, you know, this weekend, write down where you were in 2008. When I was talking to my partner this morning, I was like explaining to him where I was at in my journey. And I was like, you know, where were you in 2008? And I was like, starting high school. And it was like, yeah, he was. My partner's a few years younger than me, like 11 years. But I mean, he talked about how, you know, on his end that he also was starting to realize that the system built around him sociologically wasn't working and he was creating more. And so I feel like when we all think about what happened in 2008, whether it would be the crash, looking at the economy, our politics during that time, what was happening to generate a like what else is there feeling in you. And of course in our current state where we're at with our government and economy and belief system and society, all of those things and all the constructs that we're dealing with right now, I would ask yourself, go a little bit deep and just be like, what else was there for me during that time that I was questioning, and where am I at with it today that it feels like it's coming to completion? Okay. But I want to go back in this reading back to sacred is the energy that travels up the stem or the stamen, to get to the blossom, to create the bloom. I want to focus on that energy of discipline. Is there anything in your life that you feel you are, well, the cards have something to say already, that you feel that you are dragging on, you know, thinking about that sacred energy that travels up? What are some of the things that are getting you stuck? And allowing that energy to travel through in order to allow your flower to bloom. And the flower to bloom is that aha moment, that discovery that I am worth more, I am more. I want to question more about what I am being shown and told in the world. So the first card that flew out, current energy, is Four of Cups. And this energy is the going within. This is the I'm afraid to come out of my shell. You know, I'm afraid to look at that energy traveling up the stem. I'm afraid to realize that my energy is sacred. That is the representation of this Four of Cups. It's actually, you know, if you are in a place of lack, thinking that you are not deserving of allowing that energy to travel up, or you don't quite know how to allow that energy, you know, remove the blocks in yourself and in your conditioning to travel up the stem. In order to come into that Capricorn archetype and behavioral structure of having that discipline to, you know, realize that that is the way that life goes. That is the original energy. Wow, this is a lot. Challenge energy is the Eight of Swords. Swords are traumas. This card is all about, you know, when you have a pretty significant trauma, and you get, you know, it may be, you know, time that passes by, but there are still aspects in your life that trigger you. This is that card. That card is the reaction to you being triggered, to you feeling that you're stuck. This is actually a pretty somber reading for the archetype of Capricorn, because Capricorn's like, here I am, I've got the list, I've got the things, like we're moving forward. This is the energy of feeling helpless and wanting to go within. This is the feeling of being stuck and holding on to your traumas, holding on to your belief systems. The one thing I would say about this energy and surrounding the full moon, it's asking you to push through, you know, with that mountain goat archetype. When it is traveling up the hill and is traveling up the mountain, that Capricorn archetype, it's not worrying about all of the rocky, you know, environment. It's not worried about the steep hills. It's all about determination and pushing forward. And these two energies that just came up is a lot of energy and a lot of stagnancy. So what is the outcome of coming into that? 3 of Pentacles. Work on it. If for any reason you travel back and you think about 2008, I think all of us have growth, right? But when I'm looking at this, I actually think this is someone's reading, and I've never really had that happen before in my global readings. And maybe we're all as a collective feeling this way. But I feel like when a lot of people, when you think about where you were, what is it, 16 years ago? 8 plus 16, math isn't my forte. But where you were at 16 years ago, and you're worried about, you know, whether you have or haven't grown that much, I want you to give yourself a little bit of credit. I will say that. You may, in this very moment in time, be feeling so overwhelmed by everything that we just talked about, that you're triggered, that you're almost like afraid to come out of your shell, that you're almost allowed to let the last bit of that energy travel up the stem to go, boop, I'm gonna make some beautiful blossoms, right? Maybe you're holding it back. Maybe you're pushing it down, right? I want you to pay attention to that if you are. I also want you to pay attention to your challenge position, which is the 8 of Swords, which is you just staying put in that energy. I talk to my clients a lot about what it's like to allow a trauma to navigate us, to allow a trauma to decide where we're going in life, right? I want you to think about what is holding you back in that growth spurt, in that growth period since 2008. What are some things that you're holding on to that you really shouldn't be? And this is all around coping mechanisms, to be honest with you. And the outcome of this is identify it and get to work. 3 of Pentacles is about worth, right? It's about self-worth. But 3 of Pentacles is about you getting to work on it. It sounds like someone's got like a full plate this weekend for the full moon, but I think it's worth it. I think that it is almost like a culmination of the beginning of them saying, enough is enough. I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to do the work. And I think that's beautiful. And I want you guys to take away that message of sacred is the energy that travels up the stamen to release into the bloom, or to create the bloom. I can't remember what it is verbatim. But I want you to believe and know that your energy is sacred. Yeah, that's what I got. This is a pretty intense read, but I think somebody needs to hear it. So take care and have a wonderful rest of your week.